we are constantly looking at the relationship between Saudi Arabia and China really growing. And it seems like this is just the beginning. Can you give us a bit of an update on what you're doing here and some of the nature of the discussions that you're having here?
Thank you very much, Sam, and it's great to see you again. And as you know, of course, the Kingdom is one of the largest trade partners with China in the region. We're the largest trading partner with China, and we're always continuously looking at opportunities to improve and enhance that trade profile, but also move that towards investment and co-investment opportunities. The Kingdom, through its various assets and companies, have been investing in China for decades, and vice versa, and moving that also towards technical and policy discussions. Today, China has become a leader in science and technology, and it's very important for us as we seek to accelerate diversifying our economy under Vision 2030 to really explore the full potential of this relationship, this friendship, towards addressing some of the opportunities we have to invest in our economy and create a productivity-led economic growth story.
Can you give us any specifics in terms of certain sectors where we are seeing this development in terms of the relationship, and any sort of numbers that you could throw at us in terms of a value on that relationship?
So, as you know, I mean, energy-wise, in terms of how much the Kingdom exports to China, is still steady and strong, and we want to translate that into more opportunities, such as in chemicals, advanced manufacturing, further downstream conversion. As China seeks to produce more locally, we're seeking to become more sophisticated in what we produce and export as well, and work together. The sectors are a lot, from mining to EV manufacturing to heavy industries that we're focusing on to accelerate our diversification, to many more sectors. Discussions are still ongoing, but also we look at technology, we look at innovation, we look at opportunities for us to attract some of these Chinese investments to the Kingdom as well.
And I believe Dan has a question from the Middle East.
Your Excellency, good morning. Welcome into the program. It's great to have you. The last time you and I spoke was at the World Economic Forum event in Riyadh, where you were also leading the conversation. And one of the things we spoke about was the growing pressure on Saudi Arabia's public finances. We've already seen some rationalization in giga and mega projects, and there's likely more to come. But specifically when it comes to Vision 2030, what are you doing on the ground there to progress the de-risking of these Vision 2030 projects in order to attract foreign investors? And particularly from China, can you update us on that conversation? Are you making progress in attracting new foreign investment into some of these mega and giga projects?
Well, it's important for us, Dan, and it's great to talk to you again. It's important for us to continuously seek attracting more investors, more quality investors into the various projects. And it's important to keep in mind that most of these projects that we're undertaking, most of this spend is necessary for our economic diversification story. We're at the halftime mark. We started with Vision 2030. Today, our non-oil economy is larger than our oil economy. Our non-oil economy has grown 20% since 2016. And for the first time, our non-oil activities is 51% of our total real GDP. Part of that is introducing sectors that didn't exist before. And for us to actually unlock the full potential of these sectors in the time that we want to achieve, which is for the near-term horizon 2030, but most of these projects are also looking at medium-term and longer-term horizons as well, is for the government to entice investments in projects, but also lean in on some of these projects because they are tied to the creation of new sectors. They're also tied to accelerating our diversification story. So all tied into a lot of fundamentals with clear economics. Of course, when we start delivering on these projects, we get feedback from the market, we get feedback from delivery, and we make adjustments as necessary. We want to make sure that we solve for whatever is best for our economy. So we want to avoid overheating, we want to avoid value leakage by over-importing. At the same time, we want to solve for the returns, the IRRs, and the attractiveness of these projects for our investors.
And I have to ask you as well, you're on the ground there in China, and I think that really reflects the critical and growing relationship that Saudi Arabia has with Asia and with China in particular. But also important to take a step back here and remember that the Saudis also have a really critical relationship with the United States. And there's been a lot of speculation about the future of that financial relationship, particularly when it comes to the dollar. So give me the definitive line on this. Is Saudi Arabia committed to the USD, not just as a means of exchange for your oil, but also for the real peg? What's the story here?
There is no change in our policy. The kingdom has a very strong relationship with the US and a very strong relationship with China. And we will continue to develop these relationships economically, but also in other realms as well as we go on. Our trade profile with China is translating to investment and co-investment opportunities, but also technical and policy discussions. And the same goes with the US. We have a long history of partnership with both countries that spans decades, and will continue to invest in these relationships moving forward.
Minister, you and I had a fantastic conversation, as I was alluding to just briefly before, yesterday around the future of growth. And I think, one of the really interesting points that was raised was that we're talking about sustainable growth. We're talking about more inclusive growth. But we want these to be more than just buzzwords that we talk about in our everyday lives. You're a really good voice in terms of a representative of emerging markets. What role can they play in the future of growth?
Well, we've seen that for us to have a stronger growth profile, especially as the world is seeing subdued growth, the global economy, one area is to tackle productivity. Productivity has been going down globally in advanced economies since the global financial crisis by almost 1%. We've seen upticks in the US, but generally tackling things that can help us improve productivity outcomes in the advanced economies, but also in emerging economies is very important. Second, global collaboration. It's important for us to address these geopolitical tensions and geoeconomic tensions and keep the dialogue open. That will help us. A fragmented world is a lower growth world, and keeping, I'd say, different parties in dialogue will help us address some of these challenges. With the advent of AI, with the challenges in trade globally, with so many other areas, to keep the discussion and the dialogue going on is very important and essential for us to have a better chance at global growth.
There's been a lot of thinking, and you and I talked about this yesterday, also about the role of capital markets in many economies' goals right now, particularly in the green transition. How are you looking at that?
Well, obviously, the kingdom has leaned in on the leveraging of capital markets for accelerating our energy transition story. We have a unique narrative on the energy transition. We believe it should be just, orderly and pragmatic. But also we're at the front line. The kingdom, being in one of the most heat-stressed, drought-stressed areas, is investing a lot through the Saudi Green Initiative and the Middle Green Initiative as well, Middle East Green Initiative, to come up with these solutions and innovations collaboratively to address some of these challenges. These include some market solutions. These include incentives for companies to share more transparently their practices and their results of their sustainable practices and ESG practices as well.